Hello everyone, welcome back. My name's dustinkreis, and today I'm just going to do what I'm hoping to be a brief video, because my videos are kind of going off the rails here in length. I don't know how long it's going to be before I start posting hour-long videos, but Jesus. A brief video just giving you some impressions on this game right here, Mass Effect 3. And the real reason that I wanted to do this is because I just read an article on GameSpot this morning while I was eating breakfast, and they were talking about the name of the article was "Why Do You Hate Mass Effect 3?" And sorry, I'll put a link down below to that article so you guys can check it out as well. But it's written by Kevin Van Ord, who I never knew was gay, but you know, he's going through the reasons why certain gamers have issues with Mass Effect 3. And one of the big issues was the homosexual content in the game. And that's the real big reason I wanted to do this video, because it is a part of the game, but it's not, it's become the main focus of the game. And that's so, I mean, it's just a part of the game. So, we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I also want to talk about sort of my experiences, and I just felt like making a video, so hell, why not? Personally, I am loving this game. I know a lot of people out there there's a lot of hate for this game, which is not, it's not too surprising, because it is part 3 in a big series. And usually, you know, they're pumping these sequels out so fast that we start to get series fatigue. And, you know, like Kingdom Hearts. I loved Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And then Square Enix just started, you know, opening the floodgates and releasing all these side stories to Kingdom Hearts 2. Whereas now, they can announce Kingdom Hearts 3 and it could be the most badass looking game ever, and I would be sort of, you know, up in the air about it, because they've just driven it into the ground. But, you know, there's only been 3 Mass Effect games, so I don't understand why there's so much hate out there for it. Let me rephrase that, because all my friends that I've been talking to that have been playing the game love it. But when you go into message boards and stuff, they talk about how the ending's weak, which I'm not there yet, so I don't know. They said the same thing about 13.2, and I love the ending of 13.2, so I guess I'm just weird. There just seems to be all this bickering and complaining about the game, and I'm like, it's Mass Effect 3, okay? If you don't know what this game is going to be like going into it by the 3rd game, then that's your fault, you know what I mean? So I don't know why people are complaining about it so much. I know why certain people don't like it. You know, for the shooter kids, there's too much RPG stuff in it, and for the RPG kids, there's too much shooter stuff in it. It's a weird mixing of those two genres. I personally really like it. I find it to be a nice break from what I usually play, which is traditional JRPGs. And it's also a nice break from things like Oblivion and Skyrim because of the setting. I really enjoy the setting of this game. I think it's the closest thing we're going to get to a truly great Star Trek game. There's a Star Trek game based on the new Abrams universe coming out here soon. I think it's done by Namco. The graphics look really amazing, but I'm just really interested to see how they're going to do the game. Any developer that is going to do Star Trek ever in the future again, this right here is a fantastic blueprint. You just need to adapt it a little bit more to the Star Trek universe. But anyway, really enjoying my time with it, and I'm really surprised by all the character moments in this game. With these big AAA action budget, huge, extravaganzas, I'm really interested to see just how many sort of little character moments there are. And Mass Effect has always been a character-based game. You know, it's based on your choices. It's based on how you interact with your teammates. But I'm just really surprised because in the first opening scene, you know, Shepard is trying to escape from Earth with Anderson, and all this shit is going down. You know, it reminded me a lot of Halo in a lot of ways. It reminded me a lot of War of the Worlds, especially with its audio. Just how the Reapers sound when they're moving around and stuff. It really reminds me of War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise movie. But he's running around, and you're kind of chasing this little kid around, trying to save him. And when you leave finally leave the planet, basically the ship that little kid is in gets blown to pieces, and you know, Shepard's watching it and it's affecting him, and I was like, oh, that's, you know, okay. But as the game progresses and Shepard takes, like, sleeps, you know, when the game, you know, prompts him to sleep, he has these weird sort of dreams about trying to chase this kid and try to grab a hold of him, and every time he gets close enough to grab him, the kid bursts out in flames. And I thought that was really cool to kind of see the psychology of Shepard. I like it when games, you know, take that approach to seeing what the character's inner workings are. You know, in a lot of ways, games are getting a lot closer to the sophistication of movies. In a lot of ways, some ways that's good, some ways that's bad. That's another video entirely. But I really did enjoy that in this game. The romance side, my character, and I'm not really spoiling anything for you guys because it really bases on who you chose to have relationships with. And a lot of people are, you know, whining and complaining, oh, why do we have to have relationships in these games? You know, I wonder how many of these people are 14-year-old boys and girls have cooties. But I really enjoy that aspect of it. I like wooing my companions. And my Shepard, in the first game, he was all about Ashley Williams. Fine, good, great, wonderful. Second game, he was all about Miranda. So in this third game, I was presented with a very interesting choice because both Ashley and Miranda are there. And it's like, who do I go with? And this is why this game is great. Because I remembered what happened in the first two games, and that influenced my choice. You know, in the first game, I was with Ashley. And the second game, you know, it's because I was a part of Cerberus. I was, you know, hanging out with Miranda, and Ashley was not nice to me. She did not like me being in Cerberus, blah, 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 blah. So when the third game came around, you know, I was sitting there thinking about it, and I actually chose Miranda because she stuck with me through the hard times, the bad times, and Ashley's very judgmental of my, you know, being, you know, using Cerberus in the second game. So it's kind of cool to see that kind of stuff. You know, it's one thing when the game presents these choices to you, but it's another thing when the game presents the world to you and you make your choices based on the world. Another thing involves the Krogans and the Solarians, and I chose to, I'm not going to go into what it is because it is actually kind of a big thing. But I chose to go with the Krogans because Rex was my friend. You know, and I would never betray a friend like that. So it's kind of cool how when you play these games 1, 2, and 3, you really get an attachment to certain characters, and you will side with them. You actually pseudo-develop friendships with these sort of, sorry, I had a thing floating in front of me there. These pseudo-relationships with these, you know, characters in the game. So it's kind of cool how it affects that. So let's talk a little bit about why the big thing about this, okay? Big thing about Mass Effect 3. Oh my god, you can enter into a male-on-male relationship in this game. I am a heterosexual man. I love women. You know, I have nothing against... let me rephrase that, because when you start talking about this stuff, it's really easy to sound like a bigot. I'm a heterosexual man. I fully believe that homosexuals should have the right to marry, have the right to, you know, any kind of civil union where they can get their, have the same legal, see, it's such a hard topic to talk about. They should be able to have the same legal benefits under the law as I do with my wife. As U.S., you know, just talking about the U.S. here, as U.S. citizens, under the law, under the Constitution, they should have the same legal rights as I do. Now, whether they want to call it marriage or civil unions or blah, 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 get married in a church, that's, churches can deny it, that's fine. But they should be able to go to a justice of the peace and be able to enter into a union, whether, you know, if marriage is too hard of a thing to call it civil unions, but they should have the same legal rights under the law that I do with my wife. Okay. So, the big thing about this is, you can enter into a relationship with, I think, 3 different guys in this game. You have the option to enter into relationships. The option. Option. Shun. Remember that word. And like just a lot of people are like blowing up on the internet about this, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe we got fags in games and things like that. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? I mean, I know that in these first person shooters online, people are always calling each other fags and things like that, and it's just, that's the main reason why I don't play online games. I don't want to hear a 12-year-old kid call me a faggot or a nigger or, you know, any of these words that are unacceptable. And I do that because there is a context. You know, fag was once used as cigarettes, and there's never a context for nigger, but anyway. But, you know, it just got me thinking. I was like, who does this? Who talks like this? You know, this is 2012. Why don't we evolve a little bit and expand our horizons a little bit and realize that everybody doesn't fit into the same, you know, small little compact box that we put our own lives in. You know, some people do things that we don't do. I do things you don't do. Who cares? You know what I mean? It really got me thinking about Final Fantasy 13 because you know, because it goes along the same line here. Final Fantasy was never really a game that had a lot of black characters in it. The only one I can really remember off the top of my head is General Leo from Final Fantasy VI. But when Zaz came out, you know, looking back, I didn't remember, you know, really any other black characters in a Final Fantasy game. But you didn't see people on message boards like, oh, who let that shine in Final Fantasy? You know, using vulgar terms like that. So I don't understand, you know, we've evolved a bit. You know, racism still exists, but I think it's not as overt as it once was. But bigotry against gays is still really overt, and people, you know, really think it's okay. And it really, you know, bugs me that people have this reaction to this game, because we all talk about how we want our games to grow up and sort of, you know, deal with the world around us. And Mass Effect 3 is doing that. You know, the developers of the game realize that, you know, homosexuality exists. I'm sorry, but it does. And we should treat these people with respect. And we should treat them no different than we treat anybody else. And that's what this game kind of does. Because when you talk to Cortez is one of the ones that you can enter in a relationship with. And when you talk to him, I mean, they don't treat him as a stereotype or as, you know, they just treat him as a normal human being who has human emotions and, you know, just happens to like men. The first game, you know, maybe got a little risque, not risque, but a little bit too fanboyish with the lesbian the lesbian relationship you could have. You know, everyone was going crazy over it, but I really think that Mass Effect has grown up a bit, and it's treating it with respect. And I think that's what the problem is that the fact that the game is treating it with respect that is making all these people, you know, blow their brains out. On the one hand, I think it's great because I think, you know, people should have to deal with this because, I mean, it's part of our world, you know. Go bury your head in the sand if you can't, but, you know, don't berate people because you can't deal with it. But yeah, so that's my big rant on the gay marriage aspect of Mass Effect 3. One post I saw was talking about why do they always have to rub this shit in our face, and I'm like, the option to enter into it, you can go screw Miranda, Jack, Ashley, Liara, oh, I can't remember the Quarian's name, and I really wanted to talk about her, because if you entered into a, Talia, if you entered into a relationship with her in Mass Effect 2, and you continue that relationship in Mass Effect 3, you get to see her without her mask on. And back in my brain, I knew they were going to pull that shit. They're going to make you work for it. And I'm just going to have to look up stuff on the internet, because I didn't enter into a relationship with her. It's all about Miranda. But I really wanted to talk about that because, you know, I think in a lot of ways America is really, really great, but in a lot of ways we just kind of sit back and devolve into these sort of 1700 puritanical beliefs that really have no bearing on our modern day lives. Who cares if two men want to get married and live their lives together? Who cares? Who cares if two women want to do it? I don't care. Who cares if one guy what, out in, you know, Utah or wherever they're at, wants to marry 4 women. Pfft, fine, go for it. Whatever. So I don't know. That's just my thought on Mass Effect 3. I really do enjoy the game. Sorry I went on a political rant there. Hopefully, I can't see my timer, so I don't know how long this is getting, but Mass Effect 3. If you like the first 2 Mass Effects, you're really going to enjoy this one. I really love seeing how my Shepard's story continues, because that's a big thing about this game too. Is it's really your story. You shape how it how it happens with your choices and everything. So I'm really loving this. I really think you guys should definitely check it out. I can't talk about the Kinect stuff because I don't have a Kinect. Don't want to Kinect. Says it's better with it. And I watched some stuff about how you can sort of voice command your characters where to go and what to do. So anybody that has a Kinect, they can tell, watch a video where they talk about that. But definitely about 20 hours in. I don't know how long the game actually is. So I guess we'll see when I actually get up a game discussion video where I talk about it. But yeah, depending on how long this game is, or this video is, I might not, because I basically touched on a lot of stuff. I didn't touch on the graphics. I think the graphics are gorgeous, but it does have the pop-in that you get with these big, big, huge games like this. So anyway, guys, Mass Effect 3. I'm loving it. I can see why people don't like the series, but I don't care. I'm enjoying it, and if you don't like it, sorry, but I think it's one of the... I think definitely out of the 3 games I've played that were released this year, which is Tales of the Abyss, Final Fantasy 13-2, and Mass Effect 3, this is Game of the Year so far for me. So we'll see what happens when Xenoblade and Last Story come out. That's pretty much going to throw a wrench in everything. So that's it for right now. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Thanks for watching.